Call to order the Village of Westmont Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting for today. That's Wednesday, 14 January 2026. Would you call the roll, please, Madam Secretary?
Commissioner Simpson? Oh, he's not here. Commissioner Thomas?
Here.
Commissioner Peterson's here. Commissioner Lynn?
Here.
Commissioner Donahue?
Here.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Just clarification with the village attorney. If our missing member comes late.
That's fine. Just make a comment that he's now here and proceed as usual.
All right. Okay, first is the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everyone stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And while everybody's standing, anyone who testifies has to be sworn in, so please raise your right hand and swear that any and all testimony you give before this commission will be the entire truth. Thank you. Thank you. Reminder for everybody to silence your electronic devices. And a reminder also that anyone who testifies has to sign in either at the podium with your name and contact information or out in the hall in the table in the hallway. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the December 10, 2025 regular meeting. Have a motion to approve? So moved. Motion Thomas.
Second.
Second Lynn. Discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, roll call please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson votes yes. Commissioner Lynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. Next is a review of the public hearing procedures. A standard procedure is that the applicant comes forward, identifies himself, presents his petition to the commission, and that's followed with staff comments, and then anyone from the public can weigh in with comments to the commission, and finally the commissioners get to comment, question, and hopefully get to a vote. A reminder that this commission is recommending only. The village board has the final say-so. Whether we recommend a positive or a negative proposal, the village board doesn't have to go along with any recommendation that we give. Under old business, I see nothing this meeting. New business, first item is public hearing PZC 016-2026, request from Campagno LLC, the petitioner, and 2 West Naperville Road, Limited Liability Company, the owner, for the property of 306 North Cass for the following. 1, a preliminary plan of subdivision to consolidate 5 lots into 1 lot. 2, a zoning ordinance variance to the minimum front yard setback in the R4 General Residence District. 3, zoning ordinance variance to the minimum lot area per dwelling unit in the R4 General Residence District. And 4th, zoning ordinance variance to the minimum outdoor open space in the R4 General Residence District. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. You even said Campagno correctly.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you very much. Michael Gatto on behalf of the contract purchaser and development team. We are very pleased to bring this apartment building to you for your review. Scott, can we get me on the TV?
Yes. There we go.
Thank you. 306 North Cass Avenue. 12-unit apartment building, all 2-bedroom apartments, located just north of Naperville Road off of Cass Avenue, just on the west side of the street, north of Mrs. T's Pizzeria. Right now, we are in an R4 and R3 zoning district. We have lots that are spread over both zoning districts. And we abut to the south the B1 Downtown Edge District, to the east, B1 Downtown Edge District. And you can see on the map right here where we are located in the town, just north of the downtown core.
Mr. Gatto, stand by 1 second, please. Let the record show that John Simpson, Commissioner Simpson, is present. Proceed.
Here is a survey of the property itself. As you can see, it's a trapezoidal property shape with minimum frontage on the front of the property along Cass Avenue, and then expands out to a wider width towards the rear of the property. An overview of the property: we have 12 apartments in there, large 2-bedroom format. We have larger unit sizes that we are planning here than typical 2 bedrooms. We're trying to achieve 1,200 to 1,300 square feet per unit in the building. Our finish level is very high. I think Quincy Station finishes, but limited amenities. That's pretty much the niche marketplace that we're in. That's how we're able to do these projects on a small format in infill development areas. We have a management team that coordinates all move-ins, move-outs, so the effect and those moments in time on the neighborhood will be limited and well-managed. The exterior facades of the building will be clad in hardy material with masonry accents that add some verticality to the facade. And then, like I suggested earlier, on the map, we are just north of the downtown core in somewhat of a transition district from the downtown businesses, commercial district, to the residential to the north and northwest. As stated, our entitlement request, we have several of them. Review of a preliminary plan of subdivision to consolidate 5 lots into 1, and a major site plan review. We're also looking for a map text amendment.
Map amendment.
Map amendment. And then, as far as variances are concerned, we're looking for a variance to the minimum front yard setback, the minimum lot area per dwelling unit, and the minimum outdoor open space per unit. In the findings of fact for those variances, hold on, let me pull those up. We need to meet the following criteria, and we believe that we have. Number 1, practical hardship or practical difficulty. A lot of that has to do with the trapezoidal shape of the property. Unique physical condition, again, the trapezoidal shape to the property. It has to not be self-created. That's just the shape of the lots over there. Denied substantial rights due to the unique physical condition. This particular lot would lose redevelopment viability if strict compliance was sought. We're not looking for just a special privilege due to the physical condition stemming from the trapezoidal shape. This is a unique site, therefore unique rights would be asked for. As far as the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan, it would be in line with other requests in the area. Specifically, to the north, we have setbacks that are reduced from that 25-foot setback. So we're consistent with that area and the theme. In addition to that, we're a transition district called out in the comprehensive plan. And so this use is considered a transition use in general from a commercial district down to a residential district. The essential character of the area, we would not be changing materially the character of the area due to these variances. we wouldn't impair supply of light or air into the properties to the vicinity. In fact, we went through and we've shifted the building as far south as we could onto that lot in order to bound the downtown core as much as we could in order to limit any impact on the north and west property owners. The project would not unduly tax the public utilities, and it would not endanger public health or safety of the community. And then finally, no other remedy. Without these variances, we don't feel that this project would be viable on that site due to the shape of the site in order for it to truly be redeveloped. On the screens, I have the north and east elevations. As you can see, we have material banding across delineating different floors, and then we are also adding some verticality of masonry units along the corners of the facade of the building to bring that first floor masonry all the way up through the building. We work with staff on that, and we are within the guidelines of what Westmont would like to see with the project. Again, this is the south and west elevation. Similar banding across, similar facade elements. And then we have also done a landscape plan. We are adding a significant amount of landscaping to this project. As you can see, because the south side is going to be visible from Naperville Road, we took extra care and concern with the plantings along the south side of this property in order to add a little bit larger scheme there. So we're a pretty building from the street. And then there are the elevations, and I thank you for your consideration, and I'd love to just jump to questions that you guys have on the project.
Well, let's go to staff first.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump the gun.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Before I begin getting into some of the details on the report, I just want to do a little housekeeping. So I want to correct just one thing that was stated when we opened the case. The case number is actually PCC 016-2025, not 2026, just for the record. There was in the previous agenda said 2026. We amended that agenda on Monday to correct that error.
Okay.
The request that's before you tonight is in regards to 306 North Cass. 306 North Cass consists of actually 5 parcels or lots. The property, or the petitioner is requesting tonight, there's basically, 6 items that are on the agenda tonight related to this request. Mr. Gatter already mentioned there's the preliminary plan of subdivision to consolidate those 5 lots into a single lot. There's a major site plan approval that's required for this project due to the size and the additional requests attached to it. The site plan approval consists of elevations, the landscape plan, and the overall site plan. The other 3 items relate to the zoning ordinance variances for the R4 General Residential District, which include the front yard setback, the lot area per dwelling unit, which is the density of the project, and then the minimum outdoor open space being provided for each unit. There's a separate request that will not be a part of tonight's discussion due to an error in the newspaper publishing notice. So there's a separate request that is scheduled for a public hearing that's tied to this project on February 4th, 2026 at 6 p.m. in the same room at 31 West Quincy. That request is a zoning ordinance map amendment to rezone 3 of the 5 parcels of the subject property from R3 single unit residential district to R4 general residential district so that all the parcels are under single zoning district and there's no split zoning. So for tonight's discussion, it's presumed that we're using the R4 district standards regarding this property, although that request will come at a later time on February 4th. Staff also recommends that tonight there's no final vote on the items. We recommend continuation of the case to that special meeting so all items can be voted on at the same time. But we are still providing feedback to the public and to the petitioner. So if there are changes that are being requested to a project, we can try to accommodate them. But as we go through this meeting, we'll see where we are lying on the project. Now getting into the actual request and the property itself and some of the background. The property itself is just under a half acre in size, 0.475 acres to be exact. The lot, as already mentioned, is split zone between R3 and R4. It consists of 5 lots, or 5 parcels for the underlying lot. The comprehensive plan designates the future use of this property as single-family attached residential. In the land use map, however, the sub-area map mentions this piece of property as a transitional district. So there's conflict between those two plans. There are similar conflicts along Naperville Road, going east and west in this area, and those plans were adopted in 2013. The uses around this area are varied. So we do have the downtown districts to the south. We have Mrs. T's, the pizzeria. Across the street, we have the old 7-Eleven building that's currently vacant. We have vacant properties to the north of the 7-Eleven building as well. And then to the south, we have a gas station, and then we have one of our markets at the other corner. To the rear of this property, we have single-family homes. And then to the north, we also have single-family homes adjacent to the property. As you go north, you see more multifamily and single-family attached projects, as well as some office and civic uses. The requests tonight relate to the proposal that was just presented by Mr. Gatto. I'm not going to go over all the details, but I want to make sure that we understand why these items are being requested. So the request for a preliminary plan is due to the underlying lots needing to be consolidated into a single lot. We don't like having buildings and properties under single ownership when a lot is not under single ownership, so that is why we do that. We try to clean up lots as we see them and when they come before us. The request for the site plan approval is required for the size of project and the scope of the other requests being made. The request for the variance to density. I'm going to go into some specifics regarding how we calculate density, so bear with me. So the underlying zoning for the property is presumed to be R4. R4 district allows for multifamily by right or multi-unit by right. The requirement for density is 2,500 square feet per unit. This property, based on the size of the property, around 20,000 square feet, allows for 8 units by right. The petitioner is proposing 12 units on the property, which is about 1,722 square feet per unit. The petitioner already mentioned the reasoning behind that request. He believes that the shape of the property constitutes the variance request here. To put that density in perspective, we try to normalize it so it's a dwelling unit per acre value when you're looking at other properties in the vicinity. So this property has an average dwelling unit per acre of 25.29. There's a property north of here. Some might know it as the condos that had a fire in the building and were redone to become apartments or restored to become apartments not too long ago. It's just south of Ogden Avenue at 515 North Cass. That property is zoned R5 and has a average dwelling average dwelling unit per acre of 31.43, slightly higher than this property. Other projects somewhat in the vicinity that are newer include Quincy Station, which is in the downtown here. That has a dwelling unit per acre of 105. We have the previous approval for 1 North Cass, that's no longer in effect, had a dwelling unit per acre of 112. Richmond Station, which is on Cass over here, had a dwelling unit count of 32. And then 210 North Cass, just south of this property, that is in the downtown districts, had a dwelling unit acre of 28.57. I have a much longer list of dwelling unit per acre, depending on the project. I'm not going to go through every single one, but those are ones that are somewhat in the vicinity and are newer. So it gives you a better idea of what that ratio is. Regarding the second request, which is the front yard setback, this is somewhat of a common request on Cass Avenue related to newer projects. We've seen requests approved on Cass Avenue Dreams homes to the north, just south of the library. They had a reduced setback to allow the front buildings closer to Cass Avenue. This proposal is requesting, it's a 5-foot variance request, so it's from 25 feet, which is required in that district, to 20 feet. Again, the petitioner has provided the findings of fact and responses to those variance standards, so I won't go through them again. Those are in your packets. Additionally, the variance request for outdoor open space. So outdoor open space has been calculated differently throughout the years. Usually outdoor open space, first let me give the definition. Outdoor open space is usable space on the property for activities, to put it in simple terms. Usually we see outdoor open space accommodated by amenities, so like a patio that can be used by everybody. We also see it instituted in individual units as balconies or terraces that allows for outdoor space. We also see it used in courtyards. The petitioner, if you saw in the plans, and those are also in your packet, provided outdoor open space in 2 distinct ways. One was balconies. Those had a ranging value of area for those patios and balconies, depending on which units they were in and what corner they ended up in, based on the floor plan. He also provided communal space in the front of this property that has a smaller fence height to be used almost as like a courtyard area. Largely we see that happen when, if pets are allowed, you want somewhere where you can take your dog out and have them relieve themselves. We usually like to see that on the property itself, so they're not using other properties where we've had issues with higher density and neighbors. The requirement for this particular property would require 3,000 square feet. That's 250 square feet per unit. To put that in perspective for other areas in the village, in the downtown, the minimum requirement per unit is 50 square feet. So those can usually be accommodated by the balcony itself. But in this case, the balcony size would need to be much larger to accommodate within the building, so there's the communal space. However, if you add those 2 items together, the applicant has about 2,270 square feet, which is about 76% of the required needed of outdoor open space. Although the open space that's being provided is not meeting the minimum, the landscaping being provided does meet the minimum for this district and this type of use. So there's perimeter landscaping around the parking lot and then substantial landscaping in the front of this project. Going to some of the site plan approval items that we talk about usually. Some of the key things I will just note is that the footprint of the building is around 6,000 square feet, just under 6,000 square feet. The height of the building is about 32 feet. There's an additional parapet wall and a penthouse on top I say penthouse, the penthouse usually just houses mechanical equipment. It's not an actual space for residents. The parking required for this project is 18 total spaces at 1.5 per unit. 19 spaces are being provided in this case, so they meet that minimum standard. Additionally, there's a fencing requirement. The proposal is providing a 6-foot-high cedar fence at the rear and edges of the property. And then the fence height comes down a bit at 4 feet and becomes a metal open fence for the communal area. You might see some remnants in the petitioner's provided proposal related to a variance request for stormwater detention. Between when the petitioner provided documents and this meeting, the village approved text amendments to the stormwater regulations that lowered some of the regulations for certain size projects. So in this case, there's no stormwater detention needed on site for the proposal to be allowed. However, you'll notice on the plans there's 2 areas and I'm going to use my engineering document that's over here so I don't mispronounce it, for post-construction best management practice. So what that is it cleans the runoff of the water before it goes into the system. So in this case, the county regulations still require both those PCBMPs in the front and the rear of the property. And those are shown on, I believe, the site plan with the engineering plans as the preliminary plan needs to be approved with those. But no stormwater detention is required on the property. So that request did not make it to the agenda because it's no longer needed. So if you see mention of that in the petitioner's items, that's why. Getting to some of the details again, this property has a pretty significant topography change. You'll notice there's a retaining wall between this property and this property to the south at Mrs. T's at the parking lot. That retaining wall is in a disrepair state at this point. It was built quite a long time ago. The retaining wall, although it's not shown on these plans, will need to be rectified before, if this project is approved at the permitting stage likely. However, the proposal could the contractor could come into significant issues once they approach the property owner to the south for the retaining wall. If the site plan needs to be adjusted, they might have to come back in if the retaining wall has to be moved onto 306's property entirely. At this point, the petitioner is still moving forward with the project, and we can discuss that further if needed. There's a lot of legal case law regarding maintenance of these type of things. I do have our attorney here if you have questions on that. But that's why it's not shown on the project plans right now. I am open to questions from the commissioners or try to clarify anything. The findings of fact were provided to you and they should be at your dais, and we can go through those if needed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would like to address the commission on this agenda item?
Happy New Year.
Good evening.
Wayne Newton. I live over there at 10 West Trowbridge, and just a block away from this project. And I guess we just had some major road infrastructure improvement on Trowbridge, and it's been 35 years in the making because there was some water issues over there on that part of town. And I just want y'all to kind of consider, I guess, the stormwater. I'm not an engineer by trade or anything, but you know, these projects, whatever your PB, whatever, I think these I'll call them, they could be drains or something. Just, I don't know what's downstream. See, back on Trowbridge, that it was very undersized for all the development when the police department, the library, and the Dream Home project, it just overwhelmed the health department. It just overwhelmed that area over there. And I'm just thankful that it seems to be, with this rain that we've had and some thaws, it's a major improvement. But spring and future years we'll see if it, but now I can kind of keep some things in my basement, so that. And then this retaining wall, whose property is it on? Is it kind of like here and there? You know, when we were kind of discussing that, it'd be nice to have that slide up there, and then the consolidation of the lots. Those R3, when I just looked at it, were they like the backyards of those, somebody's lots off a grant per se? Were they just floating lots back there? I don't know how did those lots.
That would be Lincoln, not Grant.
Oh, Lincoln, okay.
And can you answer that question?
Yeah, I was going to ask, I was going to wait. So you mentioned a few things regarding the parcels on the rear of this property. If Gabriel, if you could pull up the overhead so I can point to it. If he
That's
allows
those
me.
3 X's like?
Correct. So we have here, the ones with the stars are the parcels that we're talking about tonight. So these 3 parcels in the back have historically housed a single-family home that was back here. You can see remnants of it, of a driveway that was here in the past. We see historically when we didn't have subdivision codes at the time, or if they were in the county, pieces of property went to neighbors all the time. Very difficult to track, especially with older parts of town. In this area, we still have portions of an alleyway that were underdeveloped. So it's hard to say what the plans were for those properties at the time. But yes, those are parcels. They might even be lots of record that are tied to this property, and that's why we consolidate all of them together so it's under single ownership eventually.
Well, like 306, does it go to that one in R3? Is that?
It would be,
I mean, who owns them? I mean, are they separate parcel IDs?
yeah, so, you're saying right now. Ownership, they own all 5 parcels.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Oh.
it's a single owner right now. They're just not consolidated.
Okay, that answers that. And then I guess on this view, to get a better perspective, the relationship to the south line, this structure is kind of pushed to the south, how it really relates to Mrs. T's property to the north, how much, you know, it'd be nice to see that building to building view. Be nice to just see that. That's about it.
All right, thank you.
And the retaining wall question, I think you asked who owns the retaining wall that was discussed. There's an existing retaining wall on the property that's operated, that Mrs. T's operates on, that's owned by the underlying owner of that property.
Mrs. T's owns the retaining wall, but it's...
That's correct. It's part of their property.
Okay.
So I can explain that further if anyone's interested in the retaining wall.
If the commissioners need a rundown of it.
Okay. Hold off on that. Okay, before we go to the commissioners, anyone else from the public want to address the commission? Seeing none, it's our turn. Commissioner Peterson, you want to go first?
Certainly. I like that something is going to be done there, but I have a couple things that's bugging me. The driveway to the back parking lot, if you put the 12 units in there and the building's full, and the majority of people would have 2 cars, that's already 24 cars, but you only have 19 spots. So not only is that short, but then visitors and families and, you know, I live in that neighborhood, so I was like, there's really no overflow parking anywhere. I think the closest is down Cass in front of the school. So I'm a little uncomfortable with the amount of, and Scott, did you say that meets code, right?
Yes, so the requirement is based on a dwelling unit number. In this case, it's 1.5 per dwelling unit. The minimum is being met. They exceed it by a single parking space.
And if you live there or you're a visitor and you go down the long driveway next to the building and in the back, and the parking lot's full, there's not going to be, you can't turn around. So you would literally have to back around the corner and back out onto Cass Avenue. And I would assume, unless the Amazon drivers are going to block traffic on Cass, would have to do the same thing. Only good thing is it's by the stoplight, so you would, probably get where there's breaks in the traffic where you could come in and out. But a little concerned about that. And would it be something in the leases that would limit the units to how many vehicles they can have?
You can go ahead, yes.
Yes, so we would have parking spaces designated on a per unit basis. Typically what we've seen, and I own a lot of apartments around the western suburban area, typically what we see is 1 parking space per unit seems to be the magic number for the parking spaces. That being said, they're 2-bedroom units. I think that we're meeting the code requirement on it. They would be designated on an individual basis that they would then rent out from the project or from the building on an as available basis once we've surpassed the 1-to-1 ratio. So each unit would get their fair shot at 1 parking space first, and then the overflow on an as needed or as available basis.
So if someone wanted to come and rent one of the units and they own 2 vehicles, they basically would be turned away until they only could have 1?
Yes.
Unless there was, it sounds like you're saying,
Unless there's an available space, but yes, we would say that this might not be the apartment building for you.
and I think the one question would be, would you want the site plan revised to guarantee that at least, 3 spaces, to throw out a number, are reserved for guest parking? Something along those lines. If there's 12 residents, they could have, and how many parking spaces total?
Total 19.
19.
18 plus 1.
So some number are guest-only parking. That would leave some room for the applicant to provide 2 parking spaces to certain tenants, and if they're out of spaces, they're out of spaces.
Well, I mean, it is code, so I don't really want to argue with that, but I'm just thinking as like the average person, and going over the plans, like I say, the long skinny driveway, and somebody pulls in there, they're going to have to, a lot of the vehicles are going to have to back out onto Cass Avenue into the traffic, but like I say, I can't really argue with it since it meets the code.
If I may, I will say, although it meets the code, we are still approving a site plan. So if you believe it needs revisions because of the site dynamics, that is certainly something that can be discussed, and if the petitioner is open to it. We've seen many times where we've had multifamily and we want to reserve either loading space or a delivery space or a space just for visitors with little signage in front of them. That has happened before, and if the petitioner is willing to accommodate it at the site plan level, that'll be up to him. I also just want to mention, because you bring up a good point, we also have, just to place this kind of in relation to this transition area. So the district to the south, the B1 district, allows for residential on top floor. It also allows for residential outright in that district as apartment buildings or condos. In that district, we allow or require 1.1 parking spaces per unit in that area. The reason that specific district has kind of a reduced rate compared to other residential districts is because downtown's close to the train station. And we also have public parking spaces available for if guests are going to come by, they can use public parking while they're there. So not everything has to be housed on the property. Just to think about it in context of the surrounding area. But you raise good points.
Thank you. I also have a little bit of an issue with the asking for 4 more units. I'm just thinking that, trying to picture, I'm just thinking that's too many. And I know if you had to get rid of the top floor, would you proceed with the project? No?
No.
And the same thing with the open space, if you had to provide what was code, would you?
It's a very tough site because of the trapezoidal shape.
Right.
You see the drive aisle, you brought it up. That drive aisle is really chewing up square footage on that site for open space, this, that, and the other, because we have to park in the rear according to the codes. If we could get a little more efficient and shift up to the front, but that's not the design guidelines that we're trying to maintain here. I believe some semblance of street wall would be, I think, the planning zoning term for it. So we're kind of in a tough position here because of that. Slide that building forward, which chews into that open space.
Well, and it puts me in a tough position too, because I like the project and I'd like to see it built, but there's several issues.
If I may, just regarding, because I should have mentioned during the staff report, the drive aisle that's there, that comes in from Cass Avenue before the parking lot begins. That drive aisle, because of the fire truck standards we have, has to be maintained. That width, I believe, is 24 feet, without me looking directly at the plans, has to be maintained for their fire equipment to get in because of the height of the building.
Okay, that's basically all I have. Because I like the project other than those few issues, so I'm kind of stuck on what I'm going to do.
Well, I appreciate that you like it, and I think we struggled dramatically on that green space and how to shift that in and also make it activatable space, because we don't just want to do things just to do it. We'd like to have it as an amenity or a place that people can go and congregate as well. So
Yeah.
based on where we're at, I think those metrics are tough to maneuver through outside of kind of where we're at.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas?
Hi. Are we talking rental or condominiums?
Rentals.
Sure, all rental. And what's the distance between the building and west to Cass Avenue? How far away from Cass Avenue is the back of the building?
So we are 20 feet from the front of the building to Cass Avenue. We are 20 feet to the right-of-way, and then I believe the right-of-way there is a little skinnier, so another 4 feet-ish. So we're probably 24 feet from the actual street itself.
So you can see, you'll be able to see your building from Cass.
Yes, you'll be able to see the building from Cass, but it'll be a slimmer profile because of the shape of the property and the shape of the building.
Right, because you have to.
Yeah. Which isn't a cheap construction method, but in order to fit it on that site,
Right,
we had to do that shape.
okay. Right, those are my 2 questions.
Mr. Donahue?
Scott, Could you give me some clarity on the 75% of the requirement is met with the square footage per unit, but if the landscaping makes that whole? Like, can you run,
Yeah.
take another lap around that for me?
So, I haven't seen it since I've been the planner, but previous projects that have been approached by the village for this districts or similar districts, there's usually a push-pull between providing open space requirements, which can be met through the patios and the courtyards and amenity spaces that's provided outside for people to congregate, or providing the required landscaping needed to beautify the project. That happens a lot. In this case, that's exactly what happened. So the calculation method, we don't take in the landscaped areas, including the open space requirement, because people can't use the landscaped areas to congregate. It has to be usable open space. So the calculation method we use is slightly different for usable open space than the required landscaping. That makes sense. So they're separate. The required landscaping's held in the landscape codes, also in the zoning ordinance, and then the outdoor open space is dependent on the district.
Okay, so for this purpose, you're combining the landscaping into the number.
No, I'm basically we just utilize what can be used for people to congregate in. So that'd be grassed areas, the balconies and patios.
You don't want to hang out in the bushes?
Don't hang out in the bushes, so we don't utilize that. The definitions have changed slightly regarding usable open space from the zoning ordinance comprehensive amendments we had recently. The 250 square feet is what's required per unit. Like I said, if you move down one property to the south, that requirement's reduced to 50 square feet per unit. And that's why it can usually be accommodated, as you see in some of the other projects in the downtown, just in the balconies. Like I said, this is an area that's in transition where we have conflicting area plans in the comprehensive plan. We've also seen the site sit vacant as well as the ones across the street for quite some time, but.
Yeah. And then thank you, Scott, for.
Hopefully that was helpful.
Can someone help me understand, like, I'm looking at the draft here, and it looks like this would be garbage back here to the northwest corner?
Yes.
Can you explain that traffic flow to me? So garbage truck would come in off Cass, they'd head west, and then are they exiting? Do they have to turn the truck around and exit on Cass again? There's only one entrance and it's off Cass. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So most likely what's going to wind up happening is we have I want to choose my words carefully because I think there's a textbook definition of what a hammerhead turnaround is. But we have a slight area that will allow a garbage truck to back up, turn around. They should be able to make that turning radius back out.
I'll say what we normally see on Cass Avenue in relation to these we also see it in some of the single-family zoned areas that have old multifamily buildings in them. We usually see that the garbage company backs in and then loads, and then they can get out that way. I normally see, I will say for the post office, I normally see them stopping on Cass Avenue for the single-family homes as well, and some of the multifamily to the north.
Okay. Those are the two questions that I had. Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Simpson.
Just to go off what Commissioner Donahue said, Scott, there's gonna have to be enough turn radius anyways for a fire truck if they have to get in there. So I would imagine that in the event a garbage truck did go in front, they'd be able to back around if a fire truck is gonna have to.
I can't guarantee that based on the plans provided. I believe the fire department and the Fire Prevention Bureau only required that that drive aisle that's adjacent to the building be free and clear
So they
at
can go
24 foot, so they can back in and out.
Okay.
some of the, for example, some of the buildings to the south of here, like Quincy Station, they use the roadway for their apparatus. This is just far enough away, I believe they're unable to do that, so they need that drive out clear and free and clear.
Okay. Mr. Gatto, I went through it. I would assume you're going on the numbers. Is the total square footage of the building, is it about 20,000 that you're building out total?
Right around there, depending on how you treat the penthouse. I think we're calling it a penthouse.
Mechanicals, but yeah,
Yeah.
excluding mechanicals, you're around 20,000. Okay, so my particular feelings on it, I think it's a great proposal. I think it's an irregular lot. I think that's probably why for 15 years it's not been built on. So I like the proposal a lot. I guess the struggle that I have, and it has nothing to do with you, it's probably with the commissioners that we're going to be facing going forward, is where does the downtown core end, right? This is the transition area right across from Mrs. T. They could have gone, what, 4 stories by right, or however many?
3 stories by right.
3 stories by right, and then we change the parking requirements because it's close enough to the train, and I think we're going to see this issue. So part of me likes seeing this so that when we do the comprehensive plan again, we know exactly what's needed, because I'd imagine we're going to keep having these same issues of, we want you to build 2 beds, but you only have enough parking for 1 per unit. And I think we're just going to keep getting it all the way from here all the way to the tracks, and I think that'll be important for the trustees and the mayor to understand, hey, do we need to, whether it's through condemnation or eminent domain, or just try to get someone to donate the land so that we can turn it into more public parking. I like the development better than the vacancy. I think it's great. I think it's a benefit to Westmont. I do have the concerns with the parking as well as Commissioner Peterson, but I think the market will take care of itself. And I understand what you're saying, because it seems a little silly, like, are you going to turn them away? They end up turning themselves away, because if my wife needs a car for work and I need a car for work, and you tell me there's only 1 spot, unless there's an easy spot to go to, it's not an option, right? It's not like you're the only place to rent in town. So I do think the market will kind of take care of that. I don't think it's realistic to expect them to have 250 square feet of open space. I mean, it'd be great, but I just don't think with this lot and how close it is downtown, that's fair that Quincy could do 50 feet and he's got to do 250. I don't think we're kind of accomplishing the goal if we do it. So I'd be supportive based on everything I've heard. And I know we're not hearing the map amendment, but to me, I would hope that this serves as the landmark on the other side. In my head, what I'm envisioning is what Quincy is here. At some point, what is our, would be the good word, like cornerstone for the north part? I guess that would possibly be it. And then you hit Mrs. T, and then it's in our downtown area. If there's another project that wants to build, and maybe across the street, that'll be that side's cornerstone. And maybe now we could start consolidating the core a little better instead of the transition we have. But I'm in support of it. I think it's a good proposal, and I think you did the best you could with what you had. And I understand the numbers. I wish we could lower the requirements. We wouldn't have the parking issue. We'd have more square footage, but 2,500 square feet is a lot as well for an apartment. So I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
And just the last item is the stormwater. Sorry, I did have one other item. The gentleman who stood up questioned the stormwater. When I was driving last week and looked at this, it runs north to south, so the water flow comes south. The gentleman's, I just want to make sure, the gentleman's to the north. What issue do we see affecting them? If anything, to me, their water runs to him.
Yeah, so the
westbound?
I can't speak for the topography as you go Cass Avenue. It's pretty hilly as you go north. I know that for the BMPs, the best management practices, the tie-in will be to the south on Naperville through Mrs. T's area to connect to that system. And then obviously there's a pretty significant topographical change that direction that seems to be coming south for the most part.
But if it ever backs up, it backs up first by Mrs. T, not up to, I mean, the top has the best, maybe I'm phrasing this wrong, if I'm on the right page, to me, the water's going to find its lowest point. So
Correct.
If it's going to back up, the person at the top, if he's backing up, everyone else is backed up beneath him. I just want to make sure that that's my understanding of it. what the, I guess if we need to do this or get some clarification for it, that's the only concern. I don't want the gentleman to think that this concern isn't being taken serious. No one should have to worry about flooding their basements, a real pain. Obviously, in the past, that's what my concerns are. So I just think if his backed up and everyone else is in front, well, then at that point, there's nothing we can do on it. There's a whole different infrastructure discussion that needs to be had. So, okay.
Can I jump in on that too? Right now, the site sheet flows to the south. There's no consolidation, best managed practice. Basically, the understanding of what best managed practice is we dig 2 big volume storage areas underneath the grass and the parking lot, and then all of the water flows down into those before exiting out to a storm sewer system. So a lot of times it actually works out better, even if you're going to add density to the site, because now it's at least concentrated into where it needs to go rather than just flowing wherever the earth wants to take it to.
So if it does back up, it goes into these areas first until it lowers enough and then feeds into the system.
Without me being
Almost
an
like
engineer,
Right.
that sounds correct.
I'm thinking of like our dry well concept. It's effectively
Correct,
like a
yes.
dry. Okay.
It's basically a dry well.
Commercial sized dry well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that BMP requirements derive from the county regulations.
2 pages, yeah.
Yes, so.
Okay, that's it. No questions.
Commissioner Lynn?
Yeah, thank you. Do you have the front fence? Right. It's along the property line. Is the property line, is that practically where the sidewalk is?
Yes, I believe on this property, it is pretty close. I can't remember if it's exactly where it was. Last time I was out there, it was covered in snow. So I don't remember off the top of my head.
Do you know what the setback is for Mrs. T's off of Cass?
What their current setback is or the required setback? Because the required setback is 0, because it's a reduced setback for downtown districts. We want that walkability and
Sure.
building profile. Their current one is, they have a retaining wall for their landscaping next to Cass. It's probably around a foot or 2. I don't remember if the landscaping beds are in the right of way or not. I would assume it's on private property, so.
I was just looking at, say, like a Google Street View. It looked like, and of course this is judging from Google Street View, not from the driving by or what, but it looked like Mrs. T was about like 10 feet off the sidewalk, just maybe. Just the way that the sidewalk and what do you call it, the parkway, it seems very, very tight there. I would almost wouldn't want your fence to be any closer to Cass than what Mrs. T's built. Mrs. T's has both the building and the fence is fairly flush. I would almost would like it if that front fence was in line with that. So, but that's one thing that comes to mind. I think if it comes any more closer to the sidewalk, it would look very out of place. I do have. Let me see. Commissioner Simpson touched on it. Was about like that area of Westmont. I understand that this is part of like the comprehensive plan or maybe the next comprehensive plan. I've kind of mentioned it before. A lot of times when I drive by, say like Naperville and Cass, that part of town, and there's a lot of vacant lots. There's this one. There's ones across the street. There's a 7-Eleven where we know that. I see that as kind of like I kind of see that those vacancies as a mismatch between what they're zoned for and what the market really wants. I also see that intersection as like an opportunity for what could be like a Westmont uptown, like to the area, even if it's not the same zoning regulations as the B1, maybe it's slightly different, but that I almost think it could have its a unique, but also like more built up. Anything would be more built up than what it is, but that more built up type of character to it, with multi-unit, more multi-unit residential like what you have proposed. So I thank you for putting forward this project. With that, is there any thoughts is there any news on the power lines? I'm guessing those aren't coming down because it's expensive. Because
across the street.
Right, no, I think they're right on, in front of this property, and
Oh.
they also don't look very well in front of that, is it called the Dream Home? I didn't know that was.
As
the name.
Avenue Dream Homes
Right,
to the
is that
north.
next to the library?
Not that I'm aware of. It'd be a utility project, probably with Public Works, I would assume.
Right.
I'm not aware of anything at this time.
Okay. I remember having, working on a project that was with Glen Ellen, that they would offer TIF funding for things that had to do with public infrastructure. They didn't want to pay for a building, but they would try to do any site work related to the building, and that would include power lines by putting power lines underground, which is mighty expensive, I've been told. But that's just another part of that strip of Cass Avenue. I think looks pretty unsightly, especially if you're living on the second floor and you're seeing these power lines graze in front of your windows.
If I can touch just on the utility stuff, because we do have other projects that will get involved with utility changes. Usually for a developer, when we sit down in a pre-application meeting with a developer, for example, the Fire Prevention Bureau's there. And usually some of the hang-ups are where can we put our truck and still get onto the building that derive if they need to put the power lines underground at that point, even if it's just for a single property. In this case, because they can drive into the property and then be able to use the fire truck. It wasn't required, I don't believe. But I don't know of any other projects at this time for that area.
Okay. And then, is the parking lot at the back, you mentioned dry wells. Do you know how large those dry wells are?
No, I do not. Those are in the engineering drawings.
Yes.
I'm only so good with a backhoe, so I do know that they're pretty substantial, and we have them split between two different locations, one in the rear and one on the front. The rear, we limited the size of it in order to keep that weight, the volume storage weight, off of that retaining wall area as much as we could.
I do have an answer for the size if you would like it.
Perfect.
The rear one is 49 by 40 feet.
Nice.
And then the one in the front is quite a bit smaller. I believe it's around 13 by 32.
But is there a depth to it, though? That sounds like...
There is. I don't have it here, unfortunately, on the plans.
Okay.
All I can tell you is it meets the minimum requirement.
I was going to suggest doing permeable pavers, but that it's either permeable paver, often I think it's either permeable pavers or dry wells. So it's if the village engineer's already looked at this and things, I'm going to let him do his thing. Okay. What's the maximum height that he could be? I know that I think you said it's at 32 foot.
It's at 32. The maximum, I believe, in that district's 35.
It is.
And that
Measured at grade.
And that 35, is it, the penthouse is an exception to that?
Correct. We have a clause in our code that allows for penthouses for mechanical equipment to be above that line, just because of how that equipment works. So you'll see it on larger projects that usually have elevators. So Quincy Station's a good example. You'll see one up there.
So the RTUs, they're going to be behind this penthouse, are they?
So the RTUs will be on the rooftop. The penthouse is just the staircase to get up to the rooftop. It was a concession to the fire department, I believe.
I believe so.
On access up to the roof and not through a hatch in order to get the ladder equipment and so they could access a fire or something from both sides.
Okay. Is it that each unit has its own condenser unit? So is it they're fairly small then? They're not like do you know the size of the RTUs?
Yeah, will probably be 2, maybe 2.5 tons, depending upon distance to the unit. So first floors will probably get 2.5 tons no matter what. I think it'll be somewhere around 2 to 2.5 tons.
But there'll be like a dozen condenser units up on the roof, not...
Yes, and then
not
we'll have
one
a
big one.
parapet wall around it, so so you're screened from the street.
That's what I'm concerned about. I just don't want to see them, like, from the street. And especially coming from Cass, when you're traveling south from the library, you're up pretty high, like, as you're approaching the town. And I mean, I would think that perspective-wise that you're covered, but I'd like to make sure that that parapet wall is high enough so that people don't see the condenser units from Cass. So.
Yeah, we typically do a parapet wall high enough to meet the demand from a sight line from across the street. That's typically the goal that we shoot for.
Okay, thank you. And then, let me see. You mentioned on the exterior, the facade, you said masonry units. Like, when you say masonry units, you mean, go ahead.
Not CMU block.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so we'll have some sort of cladding. It'll be a fired clay product, whether it's a tiled aspect or whether it's a veneer aspect. It'll be clad onto the exterior in a large format. So what we've done historically is 24 by 36 fired clay tiles, either sitting in a Z-channel system or clad directly onto the exterior wall.
Do you have any photo examples of like ones that you've done? Like, I know you provide a color rendering, but this is still like pretty kind of just rough for the imagination. Do you have any photos of your past work that you are?
I would love to bring in a picture of the last building I did for next meeting.
Yes, yeah.
We're going to be together again next month, so I'd love to bring that in.
Sure,
I'll send that over to you so we can get it to them before. But I really like the look. I think it's a very clean look that doesn't fade with time.
Okay, like and if you have any photos of like both the composition of both the whatever not concrete masonry whatever those masonry units and the like, because there's a number of different hardy products. So if you have like a picture of like a building that has like the mix of materials that you're thinking for this, it would be helpful. Just not that I demand it, but just a couple photos or something, just to have a better idea.
It's an easy thing to do. I've done both of these applications in different places. I don't know if we've done them together in one picture, but I can definitely provide examples of both of those items for you.
Thank you. I don't mean to be too critical, but the windows on the east elevation, facing Cass Avenue, they look pretty chintzy. Would you be able to make them bigger?
I can definitely look into that. Chintzy from a sizing standpoint.
I mean, they just look small proportionally, and that's really I care more about the Cass Avenue facade, of course. You know, it's not a very big facade thanks to your trapezoid lot, but that's where I kind of think.
I see what you're saying. That's
Yeah.
east elevation here.
Right, they look, and they're slider windows too, are they? Are they slider windows?
They'll be double hungs.
No.
So slider vertical, not left and right. Or I think he's showing casements on here. So we have casements for this side. So they'd be cranks.
Right, okay.
I can definitely look into that layout in the interior as far as what we have in those bedrooms, because if you look at the south side windows inside of those balconies, we try to do much larger windows on here. Why don't I take a look and see what I can actually fit into the rough opening inside of there?
Yeah.
And then we can go from there. That's not a big change, and I'd love to acquiesce to that right away if we have room inside those units.
All right, yeah, I mean, just looking quickly at the floor plan, it looks like you have some room, so if you could make those windows bigger or taller or something, just that they look very tight. They look like they belong more on the side or the back of a building, not in the front. And I'd like to kind of give the front a nicer treatment. It is nice, thank you for putting the balcony up in the front corner. I think that could be good. Let me see. What, do you know?
Can I interject really quick?
Go for
I just
it.
want to make sure. So are you requesting for new plans to elevations to be provided or just a type of window be provided at the next meeting.
Would you be able to revise the east elevation?
I should be able to, at a minimum, get one of the elevations redone for that next meeting for you to review and take a look at what the difference is. Now, in addition to that window sizing, if we did more a trim piece around the windows or something to accentuate and add size to it as well, is that something you would be looking for?
Personally, yeah, but I mean, I don't know if I'm asking out of line, but what type of style are you going for? Is it like, and I'm not saying that I have one that has to be one way or the other. I'm just like, cause I know like these elevations, they look a bit diagrammatic, which is, I understand for this phase of the project, but what's your end vision for like as terms of style?
So I think it's kind of a loaded question in terms of style. If I was to, and it sounds terrible, but post-World War II modernism is probably the basis for this, but that would be more of a brick element, so we're more of a modern take on a post-World War II modern building. It's kind of an in-between aspect. I think that the materials here are I think much more commensurate to the marketplace and what the demand is for an apartment building of this type in this area. I think, to be honest with you, I'd love to see those windows larger too, and it's not that big of a delta difference from a cost standpoint, and I think it's a big upgrade to the project. So if we upgrade those windows, and I'd also like to see some fenestration around them.
Okay.
If we go through this, is this facade part of the...
It would be a part of the approved elevations.
So if we add trim pieces to here, that would be a change in the elevation that we would need to come back in for?
You may need to, I'd have to go back and check our new regulations for what I have the ability to do at a site, at my level, if it came in for permits. My recommendation would be if anything's required by the commissioners, that it's placed as a condition. Might not need to be shown again to the commission, but they would place as a condition on the ordinance itself, allowing me to have some leeway to make approvals for the elevations for more higher quality material or whatnot. And then you can build it in the recommendation on the next one. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Commissioner Simpson, we were just discussing that maybe when you bring photos the next time round, we can make a better judgment of like what to kind of require or what to recommend from. But it would help to see some more examples of your past work or what you were thinking. Not just what your past work was, but what you were thinking for this building. So because I could see this elevation be done, like a very similar elevation be taken very like high end and nice, and then I could also see it be taken like the opposite direction, and I just want to make sure that it goes in like the way we want it to go. So, is that?
Yeah, I would say let's, if the item's continued, we'll have him bring in some of those past projects he can provide. I'll provide in the packets if he provides them to me in time. And then if you need to place conditions on anything, we can do it at that point.
Yeah, is that what you were?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what my
Okay.
Yeah, and then that east elevation, the facing Cass,
Right.
if I'll bring that in with a revised sketch on it, just so we're all on the same page, both what it looks like on a sheet of paper, along with some images of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, please. That'll help.
Sure.
Let me see. What's your ceiling height inside?
10-foot clear.
That's 10. I saw 10-foot floor to floor, but what's a 10 floor to ceiling?
It should be 10-foot clear on the inside.
You have the elevation.
No, you have 10 foot. Do you have 10-foot floor to floor? Are you doing open web trusses?
No, we would not do TJIs.
Okay. So do you know what the depth? It's okay.
I think
It's okay.
depending upon where we're at, we're probably going to be 14s at worst, but I think we might be able to get to conventional framing in here as well, because I don't think our spans are that large or that great. We might have a combination. So if we're going to go conventional, we'll be 2 by 12 in certain areas.
Okay, yeah, you do have some large rooms in there. It'd help to know what your floor to ceiling is, I would hope you're at a minimum of 9 at least, like for the floor to ceiling height, I know that it's been a standard for many years in construction to do 8-foot ceilings, but especially, like, you actually have some nice breadth and length of some of these rooms, and to put them under an 8-foot ceiling would cramp them, and anyway, yeah, I was just curious.
And we have 3 feet of play before we hit the 35-foot. If I increase them up to the 35 feet, that we wouldn't trigger any more variances or anything else.
Not necessarily, no.
Right, so thank you.
That'll be revised too.
We would need to revise the elevations at that point to show that.
Okay. All the elevations?
Likely, yes,
Okay.
for that adjusted number.
I have a lot of work to do before next meeting.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Like,
No, these are good comments because
Sure.
I think we want to have a good project in town that everybody's proud of. So you coming up with these comments is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Sure.
So I appreciate the scrutiny.
yeah, no worries. And you mentioned 2 by 12s. Some of the rooms you have here, I think are too large of a span for 2 by 12. So, but you could discuss with you. I don't know if you have a structural engineer on board yet or with this, but it's like just to ask them what type of joist depth that they have in mind, and then anyway, you know your deal. So, let me see. I know. Are you not required? A lot of times for commercial buildings, multi-units, you're required fire staircases. Do you? I only see one staircase, and it actually doesn't look like it's a fire staircase. Is there a workaround for maybe only being 3 floors, and is it egress windows and things like that? Is that how?
Less 3 floors and under, 4 units per floor and under, we can treat the hallway as a fire-rated corridor and the staircase, and you're exempt from the second staircase.
You could just do 1 stair for that. Well, okay.
That hence the penthouse from the fire department as a concession.
Okay. Do you know, like, the area of refuge? You're not required that either?
No, we're not.
Oh, okay. Let me see. You got around that one, so thank you.
I built similar buildings to this,
Yeah, sure.
so
No, I know.
it's constantly coming up.
Oh, is it? I bet, yeah, like by twerps like me, like pointing things out. Go ahead.
If that, just really quick, I just wanted to make sure, the fire department did say it met the standard, providing the 1 exit stairwell on top of the other requirement.
Okay, nice. Let me see. Are all the walls wood frame?
Yes.
And then, I think, okay. And as far as the parking, the turnaround, I can imagine that your trash is not probably going to take up that what looks like a 20-foot by 20-foot square, so that might kind of ease up some of the turning, like for at least for the passenger cars, like the normal cars that will be in the parking lot. So I'm not that concerned with it, but I understand everyone else's concerns. Like, let me see. Okay, and this is just a very personal thing. Sometimes I kind of think that, like, buildings like this with the balconies, you have spindles on the railings, right? Or were you planning spindles on the railings or a different
We're
material?
most likely going to be prefabbed aluminum railings with spindles on it.
Okay. Sometimes I haven't, like, I sometimes wonder if but this is just a personal opinion, as to have like one portion that has like an actual solid, maybe half wall to hide the barbecue grill, because everyone's gonna have a barbecue grill. And sometimes I kind of don't care for seeing them on multi-unit buildings, where you could see everything on the, up on the railings, and then so all the barbecue grills stand out. But that's a small tidbit. I'm not requiring it, or I'm not putting it forward, but that's just an idea, is that sometimes I kind of want like a half wall, hide the grills, and then I kind of go from there. That or the wall comes out halfway, even if it's full height, by like a bit of an alcove inside the balcony area. But that's just a small opinion. So thank you very much. I asked you a lot of questions. So, and by the way, like I mentioned at the beginning, I like the fact that you're doing multi-unit up in there. I feel like that part of Westmont is a bit of a weird abyss. It's just there's like nothing going on over there, and it's a mystery as to why. And I'm glad that you guys are putting a building on it. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay, I'll finish up here. Yeah, I agree. I think it would have been helpful to the commissioners if there had been more specifics on the facades and the building finish than what you gave us. Quick question for staff. Does the 2 Naperville Road, Mrs. T's, what is their setback on the east side of their building on Cass? Is that 20 feet, I assume?
The required setback?
What is the actual?
They're quite close on Cass Avenue. They're almost up to the property line, I believe, because of the corner over there. I don't know off the top of my head without the plans in front of me.
So that would tend to be favorable toward the request for the 20-foot setback.
Correct. I would say if you look at a line on that street, Mrs. T's will be closer to Cass Avenue.
Different zoning district, though.
Different zoning district.
Okay, but they're right
So-
beside each other. And then to the north, the Dream Homes, that is a 20-foot setback.
I believe so. It might be a little bit less than that. However, that's a planned development, not
Okay, but I'm
just,
just,
yeah.
my concern is what it looks like from the street.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
They did receive a variance
That's what I'm saying,
request.
to be flush.
Okay, thank you.
The fence is flush with hers. So I don't actually want
I noticed you have 2 EV chargers on the west side there of the building. Is that standard for 18-unit parking lot?
We like it. We
okay.
try to do it. You guys offer a credit, I believe,
So
for it?
I'm not a building commissioner. I don't know building codes all too well. I'm not certified in that. My understanding is there's state requirements for parking spaces for multi-unit buildings, new multi-unit buildings, to have the capacity to install chargers. Now, municipalities have derived their own opinions on what that means. Does that mean just having the correct mechanical equipment to allow it, or does that mean every space needs to be wired up, ready to go, or do you need to provide them outright?
Well, and is this the same we used to do, like you don't have anything on what the size of each parking space is. It used to be required 20 foot, but everyone was getting a variance to 18 feet, and I think that 18 became the standard.
Correct,
Is that-
and it is 18, 9 by 18. I think it's in the preliminary plan it's shown, not on the site plan, unfortunately.
Okay,
And the EV chargers, we've taken the position just internally because it's a state law that we want to be ahead of it. So we're going to pipe to every parking space, no matter what. But we're going to only install 2 EV chargers. The law, in my opinion, would state we need to provide the power for all of it and run the conduit chases to each individual parking space. And our group is a little more conservative since it is a law. So maybe we're a little more on the overreactive side. But since we're running the pipe, we might as well throw 2 chargers in there anyway. And the tenants technically, through the law, have the ability to install their own chargers at a later date as well.
Yeah, sorry, if you don't mind, on the next time you're here, yeah, can you show Mrs., like at the corner of Mrs. T's, or like on the site plan, so that we could have something, because
I can provide the documents that were approved for Mrs. T's. In addition, I don't want the applicant to be overwhelmed with revisions.
Sure.
But I can provide that information.
okay. And yeah, I'm kind of recommending that your fence not come any closer to Cass than than the facade of Mrs. T's currently is.
We're going to have an issue with that because that fence is the open space, so we're going to have to kind of marry those two requests together in some way, shape, or form, because that open space area, the only reason that area is considered open space is because it's enclosed just for the residents of the building. If we moved it back left, right, or the other, we're in a tough position because then we're exacerbating that variance request for the open space requirement, which I don't know which one's more important.
Right. Personally, I like the fence, but like, but I understand that I don't want you to be. Anyway, that's my take on it as a commissioner. Is that like I feel that the fence should be flush with Mrs. T's. In a way, I almost don't want the fence to be there at all. But
And can I just mention really quick, just so other commissioners know, that fence that's for the communal area is proposed to be a metal open fence at 4 feet, not the solid fence, just so we're clear. Okay.
sure.
And for an issue like that, I guess, other commissioners can chime in whether they agree or disagree with that suggested recommendation.
Yeah, otherwise we'll have the petitioner make that decision on if he can accommodate that or provide the necessary open space.
Actually, this is all your time. Are you okay if I ask?
Go.
Do you have a preference? You kind of understand what we're saying. So if effectively, so we're all on the same page. The question is, if we keep the fence flush with it, he loses open space, so he'd have to increase the variance request on that or decrease it, right? But we'd have to make a modification here. But essentially, that's what we're balancing between of whether or not we'd have less open space, right? Because it's not enclosed, or whether we'd rather have the fence line flush. And I'm just curious, as the applicant, what would you prefer? Because both of them are solid reasonings, but you know what a project looks good. You're not vested to have your project look bad. So what would your preference be?
My preference would be no fence at all and like a hedgerow along the sidewalk as an alternative vehicle to enclose that area. But according to the code, we need to kind of fit into some version of a box. I think because we're at 250 square feet as opposed to the 50, because we'd satisfy this in a heartbeat at 50 square feet, we're trying to marry all these different things together. I would love to see the fence or enclosed aspect of it taken back, because if we do a hedgerow or some version of landscaping, because we have such a deep landscaping setup here because of the village's want and need for landscaping plans and the beautification, I'd love to do this with landscaping, not necessarily fencing, because I think that would be a softer feel to it and also open it up to a little bit larger of an area. But that being said, if we're doing the fencing and enclosing that area, I'd rather have it go as far as we can, because I do think a line along that sidewalk is going to feel more regal for the building, as opposed to having a setback then a setback.
If I can jump in, so the definition for open space does not require it to be enclosed. We just prefer it to be a separate area. That can be accomplished, as we said, with landscaping and accomplished with fencing. In this case, what was presented was the fencing. But if the commission feels strong that the landscaping being provided and that open space being provided is good enough.
I'd rather.
They already are asking for a variance request to open space, so it's preference given to the commission, I think, at that point.
Scott, for the next meeting, if you don't mind, would you be able to have a photo of like I could text it to you, or I could email it to you, of like just a Google Street View image, because some of us probably are not, because after having looked at it, I kind of think, yeah, that if you have a fence, like fence coming out, it would look kind of obtrusive. But if we have just an example for the next meeting, that could help.
I would love to, other than, so there's a Google photo in the packet, but also it snowed, and it'll probably have bad weather moving forward, so it might be difficult to determine where that is and the sidewalk ends at this point. But I can have me or our planner go out there and take a picture if needed.
Or if the applicant doesn't mind, I mean, you understand what we're trying to accomplish here. If there's something, if you have something from the fall where you want to plug it in of what you have in mind, I'd love to see it. Because to me, this is design, so it's kind of past us, but at the same time, it's not about design, it's about what variants or requirements that we probably are like, hey, we'd be okay waiving that or not requiring it because this is a better look for the village. And if that's the case, design impacts the entitlement request, so it'd be appropriate. And if that's what you're preferring, and it's reaching his eyes, and I understand it as well, and put it in front of the commissioner, you're here again. If this was the last time, it'd say, hey, too late, but you're already coming back, so.
Yeah, I'd love to explore an alternative metric for bringing us back. And I think if we did some version of low-lying boxwoods, it'd feel less cumbersome than a 4-foot-high fence.
Yeah, maybe.
Is that fair?
I'm liking that idea. I would like to see something.
If I do boxwoods, does that meet the requirement of it being
I mean,
off the side?
there isn't a requirement for completely enclosed for outdoor open space. It just needs to be usable in some capacity.
Okay.
So
just put something together. and then-
Perfect.
the only thing I will mention, because we're talking about revisions to plans, and I'm hearing more and more revisions being added on as we go through this. Some things like landscape plans go to a third party to be reviewed. In this case, if there's changes to the landscape plan, it would likely have to go to that third party to be reviewed to make sure that the landscaping can be maintained based on the spacing and count, and that's reflected in the landscape plan correctly.
Can we do that as a condition at permitting if they like it? That's more,
It would have to be crafted in a way, and I'm looking at my attorney right now, for specifics on how that could be accomplished. It's difficult with landscape plans, but
I think the commission can vest authority in staff to approve like one of two options, for example.
I think that's fair.
so
The project is going to be here for decades, so my thought is, I know we're almost at the finish line, but if these are minor ones and he can accomplish it, I don't want to hang us up because of our third-party landscape review. I'd rather say, hey, let's do this, and I have full confidence in you guys to be able to say, hey, we know what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, as long as we're given the authority to do so, and the village board deems that okay, I'm fine going that route. We've done it in the past with other approvals with conditions.
And Council Coelho always worded of saying, hey, this is approved pending landscape says it. Basically, if staff and landscape says okay, they can build this. If not, it reverts to the fence, how we're talking about.
Yes.
You know, so that's effectively what we'll do. If he could applicant bring renderings, we'll be able to see it. If it doesn't work, then we know we're staying with what's there.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Back to me. Is this the loading zone on the north side of the building and the center of the building?
the ingress egress to the building will be on the north side of the
So
building.
that's where any delivery vehicles, emergency vehicles,
Yes.
people moving in and out of the building
Everybody through that area.
do that. And so that would essentially block that, well, not necessarily. If it's 20 feet, 21-foot width, they could still get past there on the north side. Okay.
Yeah, we're a 24-foot wide drive aisle.
The driveway off Cass Avenue, what's the distance from that down to the traffic signal at
I don't have
Naperville
that
Road?
off the top of my head, but
Well, there's a lot of cars southbound
Yeah.
going in that right-hand lane to make a right turn. I don't know if you got 7 cars, how much room there is when you have cars making left turns in and left turns out of that driveway.
I would say it's from the property line, the southern property line, it's probably 5 to 6 car lengths from that stoplight where the line is to this property.
Okay. And,
But I would also interject and say that that is also a hill right there. So viewabilities can be difficult,
yeah, understood.
especially on days like today.
Okay, we got that, and the retaining wall, do you have you spoken with, do you have a written agreement with the owner of 2 West Naperville Road?
No, we do not, but he is also the owner of this site. So there's some crossover there. That being said, that retaining wall sits wholly on his side of the property, the Mrs. T side, and he has a leasing situation with Mrs. T's. There's a lot of different things, mechanisms that need to go into place in order to change anything substantially on that site with that retaining wall. We're going to need to do something in order to structurally hold up that parking lot and that volume storage. There's multiple different ways to meet that requirement. I think the cheapest, easiest, so my favorite would be to work through the retaining wall with the neighbor to the south. So I think it behooves me to get it done, but I don't own the property, nor will I in the future. So there is a process that we'll have to go through in order to get that done. And I don't know structurally what that block is going to be until we get the final loads on the property up on top of the plateau, so to speak. And we just found out that we don't have to do stormwater management from a detention standpoint, so that load is going to dramatically change now.
If only you could take that southwest corner and turn it into a driveway and exit right there and
I would love to.
be slick, but,
On that note, can I ask, what's the alternative to shoring up the existing retaining wall by working with the owner of 2 West Naperville? If you can't come to an agreement, how do you handle excavation and potential damage to the adjacent property?
So we should be able to excavate and maneuver through the building without affecting that wall. If anything, we're going to be taking load away from that retaining wall through the building process until we go back vertical. And also our building footings are going to have to sit below that. We're not going to want to, risk the building's expectancy on this retaining wall that looks like railroad ties and concrete, cylinders. So the parking structure is more my concern, because that's where our volume load is going to be at, and that's where the weight is going to be at. Worst case scenario, I've got to pour a footing underneath there, dig it out, excavate it further down, pour a footing, and hold it up and reinforce the entire thing, which is going to be a significant undertaking from a financial standpoint. Forget doing it, it's just going to be costly. When a retaining wall, it's a retaining wall.
well, I can appreciate what, everything you're trying to do here, and this lot is very challenging, and it's been sitting empty for many years, and it's clear why. So, I wish you luck on this. I would really prefer to see a 9-unit building going in there, and it wouldn't be so congested, so crowded. But I'm prepared to support moving forward on this. So, Village Attorney, we'll just call the meeting at this point, or do we continue until the...
Ask for a motion to enter and continue the public hearing to the special meeting of February
4th,
4th.
Yes.
2026.
Does anyone have any comments they'd like to make before I ask for that?
I just have a question.
Please.
Is it code in between R4 and R2 for fencing? Is there going to be a fence there?
Are you saying R3 and R4 in the rear?
Yeah.
Yes, there is a requirement for multifamily, and he is providing a 6-foot fence in the
So
back.
there'll be a fence up against the back for those
Yeah.
people's houses
On the
and,
west side and the north side, I believe?
West side, north side, and a bit of the south side might have some, and then it trails down to that wrought iron, or open fencing in the front right now, is what's shown.
okay, I just wanted to double check that.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Chair would entertain a motion to continue this PZC 016-2025 until our special 4 February meeting.
Motion Simpson?
Second?
Who's second?
Second, Donahue.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none?
Sorry, can I discuss? I just want to make the commission aware that if for some reason there's a delay in revisions to any of the documents that need to provide, we may run into a scenario of continuing that special meeting or that item on the special meeting without the applicant present. Just so you're aware, we will notify you if that happens for whatever reason. It's not uncommon for that to happen with revisions, so.
Also, is it expected that this would get continued then? If revisions are made, is it expected there'd be a vote at that meeting?
Yes, I would assume there'd be a final vote, recommendation vote at that meeting, and then a final village board vote following.
Because I know we're down one commissioner, so, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Commissioner Downing will not be at that meeting.
Oh, that's right. You will not be at the 4 Feb meeting.
Correct.
Okay. And we have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson votes yes. Commissioner Lynn?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes?
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Chairperson Carmichael?
Yes. So there you have it, sir.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Be safe out there getting home.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch later this week. And we'll talk more. And then for the public that's here regarding this case, all documents are provided online on the village's agenda center. So when we post the agenda for the special meeting on February 4th, you have access to all those documents and revisions. If for whatever reason those revisions don't come in and we have to continue it again, we will note that in that agenda.
Okay, and appreciate the public for coming in on this. So this next meeting will be at 6 p.m. on
February 4th, yes.
February 4th, and that'll be a zoning map, ordinance map amendment to rezone 3 of the 5 total parcels from R3 to R4. So everything is uniform on that property. Next item tonight, open forum. Is there anyone here who would like to address the commission on anything that is not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, then Chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, can we do general updates really quick? Sorry.
Go.
Under miscellaneous, we have general updates. So we just mentioned.
Well, we've already covered general updates. We have a special meeting on the
I just
4th.
want to make sure everybody knows the caseload. So this.
Sorry.
No, you're good. So for the special meeting on February 4th, we will have obviously the case we just heard, plus the rezoning requests related to that case. We also will have text amendments for that meeting. Some miscellaneous text amendments, cleanup items, largely typo fixes and definition fixes from the zoning ordinance update or comprehensive amendments that we did in August. As promised, we're doing that. So there's
The village being the applicant?
Village will be the applicant for those text amendments. Largely minor fixes, but you'll have those documents for that meeting. And then we will still hold the regularly scheduled February meeting on February 11th, 2026, 6 p.m., same room. It looks like we're shaping up to have at least 2 items for that meeting.
Okay. Chair will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Simpson?
Simpson.
Second.
Second, Thomas. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This meeting is adjourned at 7:43.